What's up YouTube, Zazubaar here. My last video about the Big G was a negative one about the Big G's more suckerish acting gigs. But now that I'm over it, I'm ready to go back to the glory days and give you a list of my top 5 favorite Godzilla films. Again, obviously the American remake doesn't count, but the original Godzilla is the best, so let's not count that one either. So let's start this glory run with number 5, Godzilla vs. Destroyah. This movie makes the list because this movie is totally focused on closing out Godzilla's story arc, and perfectly blends monster battle with some grounding humanity. Godzilla looks amazing and redeems himself after Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. The reddish color that represents him burning really looks good, and I can never guess how they did that with the suit. Also, the human characters are engaging, yet still have some cheesy, overly scientific dialogue. But what more could you expect from a Godzilla movie? The best part of this tragic Godzilla story is the ending. First, Godzilla's son, now finally fully grown and looks incredible. Finally, he looks like an immature version of Godzilla, and not a mutated Cabbage Patch Kid. Fights the second form of Destroyah, who is one of Godzilla's most powerful and badass enemies. He gets his ass kicked at first, but actually takes him down in the end. Even though he's bleeding from the chest. Medical science can suck it. Also, the relationship between Godzilla and his son is the best one ever seen in the Godzilla movie. The final battle between Godzilla and the final form of Destroyah is one of the best Godzilla fights. Godzilla goes all out because before Godzilla fights the final form, Destroyah kills his son. Even though Destroyah seems unstoppable at first, in the end, Godzilla's newfound power, although killing him in the end, outdoes Destroyah and allows the army to freeze him. My final comment, Godzilla's death scene made me cry when I first saw it, and is one of the most iconic scenes in the entire franchise. In the end, Godzilla's power kills him, and it's one of the best endings to a film series ever. I know that was a lot, but that was necessary, so let's move on. Number 4, Godzilla vs. Biollante. This one is very much overlooked, and it's sad because of how original and visually spectacular it is. The plot is very strange, and again, the focus on Godzilla as a character makes this one interesting rather than campy. Also, this one has some of the best dubbing in the franchise, which is saying something. The main draw in this movie is the explanation of Godzilla's biology and his effect on the Japanese government and world economy. Government corporations kill to get their hands on his cells because of their power. It's one of the few Godzilla films that makes you think, rather than just begging for Godzilla to blow something up. However, this movie also has one of the strangest enemies in Godzilla history. Biollante set a trend of monsters that were formed from Godzilla's cells, like Space Godzilla, Orga, and Kiru, just to name a few. This has a mad scientist element that again makes you think and links Godzilla and the human characters. Again, Godzilla looks great, and his fight scenes with both the army and Biollante are amazing to watch and are the highlights of the movie. This one is great to watch if you're in the mood for something different. Number 3, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, the original. This one makes the list because it introduces one of Godzilla's best enemies, Mechagodzilla. This one's main draw is in its campiness and in the fight scenes, which are awesome to watch. Godzilla doesn't look as amazing as he does in later films, and this one hasn't aged as well as other ones in the series. But if you compare the scenes with the bad dubbing, the fight scenes with Godzilla, Mechagodzilla, and King Caesar, who is useless as shit, are some of the greatest fight scenes in the whole franchise. Not much else to say, except on how mean and cool Mechagodzilla looks. This character was remade several times, but Toho never topped how robotic and evil this one looks. He's got cool powers, and he makes this movie amazing. Check it out. Number 2, Godzilla Final Wars. This one has undeniably the best action scenes in the whole series. It makes the list because no matter how you look at it, it's awesome. When Godzilla wakes up, his fights are blood pumping, and just seeing how incredible he looks sells this movie instantly. This is obviously the last one ever made, so far. And Toho went insane with this one, and made some great scenes. Every monster fight, and yes, even the human fights, are memorable, and stay in your mind long after the movie ends. What I like best about this movie is Godzilla himself. He just looks so badass. He's indestructible, and he just annihilates anyone and everything that gets in his way. The final battle is just crazy, and again, this scene alone sells the whole movie. It's only fitting that he fights King Ghidorah in the end. I mean, come on. And also, Ghidorah's first form as Monster X looks really cool. The slow start and the wait to see Godzilla is all worth it for this incredible fight scene, and shows some spectacular editing, special effects, and camera angles. What some fans don't like about this movie is that there are too many fight scenes with those human mutants, and there's too much time when Godzilla is still frozen. Again, I think that all the fighting he does well makes up for some actual plot development. I give this Godzilla movie credit for having a different plot that didn't just rehash another movie, even though the idea of aliens is in no way new to the Godzilla universe. I could talk about this movie all day, but you should just go watch it because I can't really do it any sort of justice. However, the last thing I want to mention before moving on is the monster selection. I want to ask, why have some of the worst monsters like Kumanga, Kamacuras, and King Caesar? What about Mechagodzilla? How could they not have him in there, even if the last Godzilla movie before this one had him in it? Now it's time for number 1, the most epic and awesome Godzilla movie, King Kong vs. Godzilla. I could talk all day about this one and give you a commentary over it and explain why it's so amazing. Now this movie is in no way better than the original, but it's my favorite Godzilla movie and I watch it any time. The whole concept is just genius. Take 2 of the most famous monsters in history and have them fight Mortal Kombat style. That's why I think it's so awesome. The human characters are fun to watch, and the ways they try to take down Godzilla specifically are some of the highlights. The pit scene, the electrical wires, which only worsen the problem with Kong. But the whole draw is the monster battles between Kong and Godzilla. Holy crap, they just go at it. Kong is more of a traditional hand-to-hand fighter, while Godzilla is more of a long-range cannon. Yet he can still fight in close quarters. I can't really do this movie justice. Maybe the reason I love it so much is that this is the first Godzilla movie I ever saw, and actually the first full-length movie I ever saw. So it has a special place in my heart, and never will I ever turn down watching it. It may also be a coincidence that my favorite Godzilla design is in this movie. He just looks so awesome, and Godzilla again is just indestructible in this movie. Now the ending pissed me off, but that's another video, and that's another day. So that's my top 5 favorite Godzilla movies. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and please comment about what's your favorite movie, or make your own top 5. Thanks for watching. Zazubaar out.